Hi everyone, thanks for joining today's Salesforce Omni Studio Velocity online training from SV TechSoft. Our trainer is Dinesh. He will be taking over for today's demo. Dinesh, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I can
okay,
hear you.
Dinesh. Actually, I will be go under mute. Okay, please take care. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Kishore, can you stop sharing? I'll share my screen. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Just a minute. Yeah, I hope everybody can see my screen. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dinesh, and I have overall around 10 plus years of experience in IT, and I've been doing trainings from last 4 years, and I've been working with Kishore from last 3 years, and we have done multiple training batches on Salesforce, Omni Studio, and Velocity in the past, and yeah. So I'll be the trainer, and also I'll be giving you the demo today on how our plan training is going to be, and what we are going to discuss. So, welcome everyone. Yeah, let's get started. So, our agenda today is going to be we'll try to understand what is velocity and what is this new term called Omnistudio that we have been hearing, and what are industry clouds, and what is the Omni Studio architecture, and various components and advantages of using Omni Studio. All right. Uh, so coming to what exactly is velocity. So before we get into understanding what velocity or Omni Studio are, we'll try to understand the services that are provided by any cloud platform, not just Salesforce, any cloud platform, right? So we have three different services in Salesforce, not just in Salesforce, any cloud platform, which are like three layers. Like first layer is infrastructure as a service, next layer is platform as a service, and the third layer is SaaS, software as a service. So the idea behind understanding this first is like we'll understand where exactly velocity or Omni Studio layer lies, right? So coming to the first layer, infrastructure as a service, indicates that basically any cloud platform, we all know how cloud platforms work. It's a multi-tenant architecture, right? So infrastructure as a service, somebody can buy licenses to utilize some physical infrastructures of this cloud company. Let's say Salesforce can provide licenses to use their storage or their servers or their network, right? And customers can pay only for that, for those licenses, and use this infrastructure to build their own platform, probably, right? The second layer is platform as a service, where using Salesforce as a platform, I mean, using a Salesforce cloud, you are going to build a platform which can then be used by developers to build a new application for or software for users, clients, right? So that's a middle layer. Software as services, like using Salesforce cloud, the regular Salesforce cloud, anytime you get a new demo or training or your production or your whatever orgs that we use is basically the third service which we use, software as a service. We use Salesforce to build a software, right? And we provide this. I'm sorry, can some like can you go on mute? Somebody is, I think, unmute. There's a disturbance. Yeah. So software as a service, like which we typically use, we use Salesforce to build a software to our user or client, and that can be used by multiple users, right? So the Velocity Omni Studio layer comes as a platform as a service. What it does is they also use the same Salesforce org, right? But they use it to build a platform. That means they use Apex classes, they use Visual Force pages, they use Lightning components, LWCs, whatever the standard Salesforce is, like right from page layouts, flexi pages or record pages, all these things, using or utilizing all these things, they create a platform in such a way that we will be able to use that platform and develop our own software, right? So that's where your Velocity or Omni Studio comes. It is built on Salesforce. It is native to Salesforce. They use everything that we use in Salesforce, right? For example, I work for a automobile company. I know automobile company has a developer. Uh, you know, uh, like they have their own site. They need to develop and they need to maintain it. So let's say for that automobile company, for building a site or anything, they use some kind of cloud, and let's say they are using Salesforce, right? So they use all the things that we have commonly in Salesforce, like the objects, the page layouts, Apex classes, all the customization related stuff. So to build an application for them. In case of platform as a service, that platform is built by some other guys like Velocity or Omni Studio, and we use Salesforce along with this platform, which is built on Salesforce, right? So let's get a little deeper understanding of this, like what Velocity or Omni Studio, how is it helpful, on all of these things, right? So earlier, I think Velocity started way back in 2015. It's a third-party platform. What it does is a third-party company which is using Salesforce. For example, to put it in a better way, Android is owned by Google, right? And using their Play Store, you can build a lot of apps, and you can provide the apps in the Play Store, right? So just like that, you have Salesforce and you have Omni Studio is nothing but a application or a package, right? We just install it into your Salesforce org, and we start using their functionalities. Just like you install a mobile app and start using its functionality, right? So what happened in 2015 was the idea behind Velocity. For now, forget about Omni Studio. Let's only talk about what Velocity is. So back in 2015, uh, the idea behind it is like, for example, let's take a business line. Let's take e-commerce sites like Flipkart or Amazon as an example. So, if for a Flipkart or Amazon, if you see the website's UI may differ, the way they function a little, there may be a little difference, but the business line is the same. 20 years back it was the same. Now it's still the same. So that means for any specific industry, the way they run their business is not going to change. Maybe they upgrade. Maybe the recent changes will come. They would have used legacy websites. Now they've moved to cloud. But their business is always same. The way they function is always same. For example, they have a site, Flipkart or Amazon sites, where they showcase all the products, and a user or a customer can go to their website and buy a product, and go through their site. Like for example, you take a product and you add it to the cart, you add your address, you sign in all these things, then finally you do the payment, the order is placed. So the way they're functioning is always the same. So that's what Velocity has identified. Okay, it understood that these guys understood that, okay, a business line is not going to be changed, ever. Probably few functionalities will keep on adding, so more and more data model keeps on adding, but the core data model will never change. That's why when Salesforce started, if you remember the sales flow, like the data model, the way opportunities, leads, all these objects are used, it's still the same. Probably more objects have been added, so the data model keeps getting extended, but the core is always same. So that's what they have identified. Just like how we have Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, which where we have certain objects which are provided as a standard data model, Velocity thought, why not come up with a data model for each industry, so that my user, whoever uses my Velocity application, they don't have to start from the scratch. I have already provided you a data model, you can start using it. So that's how the Velocity concept came. And Velocity has identified they can improve certain things in six different industries, which according to them were leading at that time. Like you can see on the screen, communications, media, entertainment, energy and utilities, insurance, health, and government. For example, if you take US, where insurance is like a major lifeline there, right? For every little thing, you have insurance. So there's a lot of business there. So they identified that, okay, let's try implement this, feature or this kind of data model in insurance, and let's start selling that product. So that's how that it started. That's exactly what we mean by industry specific cloud, right? That means for each industry, they are going to provide a different data model, just like how Salesforce is providing you Sales Cloud and Service Cloud, that standard data model. We'll also provide you a data model, right? And we can call it as an industry specific cloud, right? So that's where the idea came. Along with this, Velocity had another interesting idea, which is uh, providing certain components which are easy to use and easy to configure, right? Again, let's come back to this, like where, for example, you are building a website, right? Let's take an example in Amazon site. When you log in, uh, when you're signing up, you have to enter some data in some fields, like your name, your email, your phone, mobile number, all of these things, right? That means you need to create a form in the UI. For that, you write a code, right? For example, you want to have a text field which is required, you write a line of code in your LWC or your VS Code, whatever it is. And to take that data and load it into Salesforce objects or something, you write an Apex class. So what again they have identified is the core way of functioning is same. If I have to add a text field every time, I don't have to write that line of code. Instead, I'll provide you drag and drop components. When you drag and drop things into this components, they on behalf of you execute the code. All you have to do is, okay, I want a text field, I want this to be required, and you set certain properties. Velocity runs the code on behalf of you. So they would have already written the code for the, those things, and they execute on behalf of you. So that's another interesting idea. So they clubbed these two things, and they have done their work and provided. Then came up this product called Velocity, which provides you two things: easy to use components, which are drag and drop components, and industry specific cloud, right? And this easy to use components which I'm talking about have been like, for example, if you whenever you talk about Salesforce, right? What usually is about Salesforce is it's 60% configuration and only 40% customization, but that never really happens in a live project. We end up doing a lot of customization, which is almost 80% of the thing is customization. That means we have thousands of lines of code to execute every single functionality in our org, right? So what again, Velocity's idea was to reduce that, to ensure that we make sure everybody uses uh, sticks to 80% configuration, only 20%, 20% they can move to customization wherever it is needed, right? So they wanted to build these compatible components. So that's the story of Velocity. That's how Velocity came into picture, and it was a very successful product. Within a matter of 4 years, their valuation reached very high, and eventually in 2020, Salesforce acquired Velocity with for $1 billion, which is a huge amount compared to where they started five years back, right? So once Salesforce identified that it's a beautiful concept, right? Why not? Why to just stick to Sales and Service Cloud? The whole world is expanding. Why not? Why don't we expand, right? So they wanted to inherit the idea of Velocity. Probably Velocity as a product had a lot of issues, but their Salesforce liked this idea, and they acquired Velocity, and they started making changes. What changes are those? Is first thing is separate these easy to use components and industry specific clouds. So they have brought up a new term called Omni Studio. All right. So for all these easy to use components, which can be used for building, any user experiences, right? Which can execute front end logic. That means you don't have to write a VF page or a Lightning component or a LWC code to build a UI. You can use Omni Studio component, which is drag and drop and does the same job. You don't have to write code to execute your logic in the backend in Apex class. Instead, you can use Omni Studio components to do the same job using drag and drop features, right? So they have separated they have, after Salesforce has acquired, they liked the idea, but they wanted to bring in a lot of changes, right? The first thing is separating the Omni Studio package. So that means whoever is already using Velocity will have it as it is, but going forward, anyone takes industry specific cloud, they can either go for industry specific cloud, which are either any of these industries, and or they can go for Omni Studio. If you buy industry specific cloud, you'll also get Omni Studio. If you think that, okay, I'm let's say, here you see it's the scope of industry specific clouds is limited to communication, insurance, media, entertainment, energy utilities, like a few six of these domains. Let's say an automobile company says that I like the idea of Omni Studio, I want to use Omni Studio, right? To expand the scope of Omni Studio, they have just split this Velocity package into two things: industry specific clouds and Omni Studio. Those who buy industry specific clouds, that package, they'll also have Omni Studio. But if somebody says that I only want Omni Studio, they can also buy Omni Studio, right? So that's the story of Omni Studio now, right? That's how Omni Studio came into picture from 2020, right? So again, uh, there was I mean, the idea is beautiful, but there was a lot of work to be done there. So what Salesforce has done is they remodeled the entire architecture of Omni Studio. Earlier, Omni Studio, the components were like the UI components were relying on Angular JavaScript. So that means you build some Omni script, then actually Angular JavaScript code is involved in the backend, which used to take a lot of time to execute some things. Like even a simple, if you build a simple, page experience page, it will have Omni Studio components inside it. Because of the old architecture, it used to take a bit of time to load a page, right? Just like I said, in Amazon site, when you enter your details, right, and when you click on save or sign up button, it should take. I mean, it's matter of dealing with simple data, right? You hardly provided some 5 or 6 fields. It should take less time, but that was not the case. Why? Because the UI was reliant on Angular JavaScript, which is not a native tool to Salesforce, which is a third-party tool. Secondly, the way the code was written to handle all these things, handle all the Omni Studio configuration, it like was a very old one, so that's why they wanted to update it. So that's when Salesforce has created a new architecture. So they are using the same data model or same concept of Omni Studio, that is to provide easy to use components. So whoever is using won't find any difference. But in the backend, reorganize the entire architecture, and which is entirely dependent on LWC, which is native to Salesforce. So whenever you are building any UI component using Omni Studio, it's nothing but you're actually writing LWC code in the backend. It's just that you don't do it. You just drag and drop in the UI. The Omni Studio in the backend, the package takes care of generating an LWC code based on what you have dragged and dropped, which became an instant hit, and it became so, like the scope of this product became huge suddenly, and everybody started using Omni Studio, and it has been upgraded, just like Salesforce 3 releases. Even Omni Studio is being upgraded every time, three like yearly 3 releases, and They follow same thing as just like Salesforce auto upgrades and everything, right? So now let's understand like what are the advantages of using Omni Studio. Why to already I'm spending a lot of money in buying Salesforce, right? Why should I again spend more money to buy Omni Studio package, which is nothing but another package app, right? So basically now after reorganizing the architecture, Salesforce has built a data model which was like just like what Velocity has done before. It's just that in back in before 2020, when Salesforce has not acquired Velocity yet, all this easy to use drag and drop components were based out of custom objects, custom data model, right? I'll show you how exactly it looks like now in a bit. Now, Salesforce has come up saying that okay, Omni Studio is going to be a core product now. Like it's going to stay for a long time. So what we can do is we can bring in standard data model. That means just like if you let's say today if you go and buy Salesforce org, just like how you find account, user, contact, leads, opportunities, all these objects in your org, you're also going to find Omni Studio related objects in it. But to use those features, you need to buy the package. But they have moved it into a standard data model. We'll learn more about what are the advantages of it probably when we start the training, because it's another big concept. So probably it needs a lot of time. So we'll spend in the training. So yeah, that's one thing. Next thing is uh, to build business processes. For example, this entire buy flow which I just mentioned about Amazon or Flipkart, right? Let's say I'll just let's open Flipkart. And you see, let's say I choose a product here and click on buy now, right? You see, this is all a flow, nothing but a flow. Forget about all these colors and everything. That's a simple, CSS. Other than that, to build this structure, you don't have to spend a lot of time by, writing a code like Lightning component or LWC or VF page. Instead, you can use an Omni script, which is a Omni Studio component, and build the same thing quite faster, right? It's nothing but a flow. See, when I say flow, that means when I first landed in this website, you were landed in a specific screen. On click of any product, you'll go to that product details page where you see all the products. When I click on this button, it asks me to log in. When I log in, then it adds to the cart and asks you to add the address. When I add the address, it next thing is payment. So it's a flow, right? So you can build those business flows much faster using Omni Studio components. It's like it hardly takes any time. If you write code, it takes days together to build one single page. But in Omni Studio, in OmniScript, building a page is very simple. You just drag and drop a simple, component inside OmniScript, and it just done. You don't have to spend a lot of time in writing the code, right? And the amount of time that it takes is less. Because of that, you can improve the user experience. And why is that is each developer has their own way of writing code, right? So for example, somebody like you define a variable and you're trying to access that variable somewhere, right? Some would use try catch block, some would not use try catch block. So they are probably the logic they would have achieved, but the way they wrote code may have performance impact, right? That can be avoided completely because you are not writing the code, you are just dragging and dropping. The code is all being generated by Omni Studio in the backend, right? Plus Since the amount of time you take to build these components, you can spend that time in improving the user experience, like probably adding the UI wherever you want. Like when I say UI, probably some kind of animation, all these things. Like your website, you can make your website look more lively, right? And basically, Omni Studio is nothing but it's an Einstein automation tool, which is part of Einstein automation, and it helps you integrate users with your experience sites, right? Omni Studio components are compatible with experience site. That means you remember communities. If you know communities, you can create a community, and in that, just like how you add Lightning components or LWCs, you can also add Omni scripts, right? So complex logics and functionalities can be built very fast. We'll probably understand how it is done and all of that in training, but yeah, it becomes very fast. And these Omni Studio components, once you build, you don't have to worry about whether your website is compatible with mobile or iPads or anything. You build an Omni Studio component and you don't even have to worry about, because that padding and everything is taken care of in the backend by Omni Studio, right? And before Omni Studio, right, integrating with a third-party system is a big thing. Even if you go into interviews, they ask, like, do you know integration, as if it's like a huge thing. But in case of Omni Studio, it's a 2 minutes job to integrate with the third-party system, right? And the data transfer that happens, for example, just now I showed you a Amazon site, right? They're getting their data from probably some cloud, right? Like the product details, the pricing, and everything. They would have stored that data somewhere. Transferring that data to UI, that user machine, and all of that takes place in JSON format, which is very easy to understand and very fast in processing. We have this JSON also included in the training. We'll discuss more on how to use JSON, how to deal with JSON in the training, right? So I've been talking about these Omni Studio components. What exactly are those, right? These are two types of Omni Studio components. There are more features, but on a high level, these are the two categories: interaction tools, data tools. Interaction tools, the name itself says, it's the UI tool that we use in the front end. That means instead of Lightning component or LC, LWC, or VF, you can use an OmniScript or FlexCard, which is a drag and drop component, right? And again, in the data tools, instead of using Apex classes and all of that, you can use data tools, which are again drag and drop, right? So let's quickly see in the org to clear out certain things, like how this Omni Studio package is and how it affects your org. As I said, uh, your Omni Studio package is nothing but a, if you go to your Play Store in our App Store in your mobiles, right? You will find mobile apps, right? Probably some games or some banking mobile app, Phone Pay, Google Pay, whatever it is, right? Those are apps built by someone else, which you can use, right? Just like that, Omni Studio is also an app which is built by Salesforce now. Earlier it was Velocity, somebody else. Now it is Salesforce, right? You see, if you go to set up and install packages, if you have Omni Studio, you will see the package details, right? And some time back, I mentioned the standard objects, right? If let's say you have joined the project, uh, can you- yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, if you let's say joined a project and that is a very new, the customer got a very new org, right? In the last 3 4 months, they by default get the standard data model. That means just like I have account object, right? I have account object, which is a standard Salesforce object. I also will have Omni Studio objects. These are all Omni Studio objects, which are standard objects now, right? But to use the designer, I mean, to use the functionality of it, I mean, you do have these objects, but to use the functionality of it, you definitely have to, buy the license of Omni Studio and install it. But yeah, these objects are now standard objects. So if you go to Salesforce or which is latest, you'll get all
Or
these standard.
earlier it was underscore velocity or underscore C kind of things, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now they make it as when this purchased by Salesforce, then they
Yeah.
make it as sales standard
Standard
object.
standard objects. Yes. Even now, for example, he said, like somebody is using Velocity from 2016, right before Salesforce acquired. What happens to them? They have ensured migrating to standard data model in a smooth way, just by enabling a button, right? So what used to be the objects are like, they used to have, for example,
Okay.
Omni UI card is nothing but the flex card which I just mentioned, interaction tool, right?
So they
Earlier,
changed the name.
yeah,
Okay.
change the name. Earlier, it used to be, let's say you have uh, velocity in package, right? It used to be velocity underscore CMT underscore underscore uh, some name, like I think velocity card underscore underscore C, which is a custom object. Now they have created this new data model, and whoever has new orgs, these are like standard objects, just like your account object. They will have these objects also.
So
Whoever
any benefit is there like converting to standard object?
Yeah, there are a lot of benefits. For example, all these components that we build are nothing but records in Salesforce.
Right.
So how do you deploy records is in Salesforce, right? It takes, like for example, you build an Apex class, it's nothing but metadata. But here, all these things, like ultimately whatever you create in these objects is nothing but data. So to make smooth, functioning of data and like deployments, and plus they are not coming from any specific namespace now. Like for example, if it was earlier velocity package, there all those objects were in the namespace. So to reduce those performance issues, again, this helps in ensuring all of that. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Right. So, for whoever has like new orgs, they will find it as a standard object. Who are like there in Salesforce from a long time, they won't find it. But when they install the package, they get all these objects as part of the package. Right. For the new orgs, these are standard objects, just like your account object, user object. They'll also come in your org. Right. So that's how they have done. So what are these components are? You can see once you install the package, right, and you buy the license and install the package, you see Omni Studio app will be available. You will see Omni scripts, flex cards, data raptors, integration procedures, and all of these things, right? So you can go to each of them. When you go to them, you will
Hello.
see. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes, please. Yeah.
As you told before, like if we don't have any arg existing arg, we can say that new standard objects, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you told earlier that this velocity is a package that needs to be installed as an application in
Mm-hmm.
arg. If we don't have any existing arg, how can that could be installed?
If you do not, I mean, when I said existing, what that means, basically, if you're purchasing, like let's say I'm a new business, like let's say I have opened up a new e-commerce site, and I want to use Salesforce. I go out with Salesforce and buy a, Salesforce. Or today, these objects are already there, but I have to purchase Omni Studio license also to use these objects. If you already are in Salesforce, like from a long time, for those guys, these objects will not be there. But when you purchase the license and install this package, their objects will come into your org.
Oh,
Okay.
Means Salesforce license also required, and top of that, Omni Studio, correct?
Almost. Right. Yes.
These two license, and then industry specific license also, right? If someone
Industry
is from
specific,
tele,
if you need that, if you need that.
but in Omni Studio, that not it will not cover all the industries, correct?
In Omni Studio, there are no industries. Omni Studio is just strictly for these development components. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Industry specific package, that means like Velocity, like for telecom companies,
Yes.
you have an industry. In that, in addition to industry specific package, they'll also get these Omni Studio features. It's like a bigger package.
Oh, so we have to buy another for telecom industry package as well on top of that, correct?
For example, let's say I belong to telecom. I don't have to
Okay.
buy Omni Studio explicitly. I can
Oh,
just buy that telecom package, which will also have Omni Studio.
okay.
Okay.
But
Either
only Omni Studio, what functionality it will come actually? Only Omni Studio, we cannot create any applications like or uh, correct?
you can create. No, for
Oh,
example, Omni Studio components are nothing but you don't use code. You use these components. They're like just like we had Lightning component, then came LWC, just like that OmniScript,
oh, not industry specific.
not industry. Yeah,
Oh, that is the difference. Okay.
yeah.
But
You
in the
can
earlier also the same structure and velocity time in 2015.
yeah. It used to be the same. See, industry specific package was
Okay.
just like, for example, let's say telecom. They used to get both Omni Studio and the industry specific package before. It's
Okay.
like there was no difference. There was no concept of Omni Studio. You buy Velocity, you get both industry
Yes, yeah.
specific package and Omni Studio. But now, since like if you do that, only telecom companies or insurance companies can use Omni Studio, right? Now, let's say some other guy, let's say some automobile company, Mercedes Benz wants to use Omni Studio, they can use it. They don't have to buy any industry specific package. They can just directly use Omni Studio by purchasing Omni Studio license.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Right. So this is a designer screen, just to give you an idea of what Omni Studio components are. Like this is an Omni script. Like these are few components which I just mentioned, right? So each of them has a defined functionality. We'll get more detail. We'll get into details when we start the training. But yeah, this is a designer screen. Screen looks like these are all various components that you can drag and drop, right? Actions are nothing but like, let's say uh, I want to create this login screen, sign up screen, right? I enter all the data. To enter all the data, I create a step. A step is nothing but a which acts like a page in the UI. That means if you are here, if you see when I click on buy now, it is launching me to this page. So a step in OmniScript is a page. So that's why I just mentioned earlier. To create a page, it hardly takes a second job. Just drag and drop a step from here, right? This is a page. How you design it, if you want same look and feel, you can do that, right? How you design it. For example, I want to take some input fields. I want to, let's say, add some. I'll just quickly show something how it looks. Sorry. We will talk more about how these things can be configured in detail. I'm just quickly showing how it should look, right? So
I
I'll do
can
the
have a
preview.
question.
Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah. Is it similar to screen flow? Like, or I may be wrong, or is it something different? Like
Yes,
the way
exactly like
you're taking components.
right. It's exactly like ScreenFlow, but in ScreenFlow to achieve certain things like passing this variable and everything, you have to do a lot of work. Like for example, you have to create a variable, then do the variable assignment and all of that. Here we use
Okay.
this. That's what makes it much more simple.
Okay, the flow would be needed and some looping, so that steps we avoid here.
Yes, that's those steps we'll avoid.
Okay.
Plus, it is LWC compatible. If you want to extend some functionality, you can always do that using LWC.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you see there are devices, how it looks in each device.
Hey,
You can,
one
yeah.
second. I had a question. So, I'm into Salesforce Marketing Cloud. I'm from Texas. So,
Mhm.
is there a way that this Omni Studio gets integrated with the other clouds? So, you said the sales and service. So, what all are the other clouds other than sales and service cloud that we can integrate Omni Studio with?
We have like I think 15 different clouds that can use Omni Studio now. Probably it can
Okay.
increase a lot. It can support. It can become compatible with a lot more clouds going forward. Right now,
Okay.
I think there are 15. Like it starts with loyalty program cloud or retail cloud, consumer goods cloud, marketing cloud. I think not marketing cloud. Sorry, this telecom cloud, health cloud. There are a lot of clouds for which Omni Studio is right now compatible. Probably in
Yeah.
future, the idea is that it should be like just like how you are using Flow. It should be something like that for any cloud.
So, what is the level of efforts and level of percentage on the coding side of this particular module? So, how much coding is involved? Like, is it the JavaScript or Apex or any other programming
Uh,
language?
we are not going to use an 80%, we are not going to use. That's the whole idea of Omni Studio.
Okay.
Because to execute backend logics, we have data raptors and integration procedure, which can do most of the job. For example, for loops, if loops, or you want to extract some data, you want to post some data, you want to do all these logical operations you can do using configuration. Any
Mm-hmm.
UI you can do using configuration. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
just that only CSS part is always going to be the code. That's always going to be there. Other than
Okay.
that, the structure of a page can be built. All of these things can be built using Omni Studio. Yeah. In fact, I want to show an example of site where it has been implemented. You see the way the page loads and everything is Omni Studio. Everything that you see here on this screen is an Omni Studio component. I mean, basically, it's built using OmniScript. Right? The way how you do that, what components you use, it's up to you. For example, this is nothing but a simple text field. Sorry, I'll just show you. It's nothing but
So, the whole idea behind this Omni Studio is like having that entire setup without much involving much into the coding, right?
exactly, yes, yeah, right. So, for example, yeah, text block. This is nothing but a text block what they have done over here in this site, right? Highlighting M1 customer in orange and rest everything. And the way this is again a text field which has some default value. This is another component. You can say you can add a flex card over here to make it look like this. See, all of these things you can do by simple drag and drop. So this site is literally built on
Uh,
OmniScript. Yeah.
One more question here, like the data is coming in this site from the different third-party systems or external systems.
Mhm.
So we are integration is easy, right? You mentioned integration
Right.
is easy in the Omni Studio, correct?
Right. Yeah.
So my question is that for integration, are we using any middleware or directly we can call third-party applications data?
It's up to the architecture. Like for example, I have dependency on MuleSoft. Anything from my side to whichever system I have to integrate, it becomes very easy. That's what I meant. For example, there is something called HTTP action. This is my
Okay.
integration. So I just give the endpoint, method type, and headers and parameters. That's all. Your integration is done. So actually, in fact, in this site, this mobile numbers you see, every time I refresh, these numbers change because it's an integration to third-party system. In this case, it's literally is MuleSoft. They're
Oh,
getting
so the
these.
data is coming through MuleSoft, right? This one nine this number.
Yes, yes. This data is
Uh,
coming from MuleSoft, and they're displaying it in the UI. That's all.
And so where is the easy, like you mentioned, integration is easy in Omni Studio, right? Integration a little bit
Basically, you
easy.
don't have to do any
Okay.
code. You don't have to write any
Oh,
code. All you have to do is give the endpoint, give the method,
okay, method.
get put post,
Oh,
headers and parameters. That's all. And the vice versa also. For example, you have to provide. That's what I have two examples here. Let's just go through this entire flow once to have a better understanding.
Does all the Salesforce limitations apply to Omni Studio as well? Like have
It's
some
since it's native to Salesforce, it's built on Salesforce. There is no way to bypass any Salesforce limit. There are ways to extend certain things. For example, you want to run like based on the something on the UI, you want to execute something in asynchronous mode. You can do all of those things, but yeah, every Salesforce governor limit still applies. Okay, yeah. So here I have examples. Both of them are using Omni Studio, M1 and Visible, just to give an idea how they look. You see, this is nothing but an Omni script, how they have built all of these things. So here, integration and everything can be incorporated directly in the Omni script. You can see when I'm loading this page, it's basically in the backend, this API was loading and getting the details from MuleSoft. So that means a HTTP action was executing in the backend, and it gives me numbers, and I'll show it in the UI in OmniScript. And again, I'll click on continue. It goes to review page where it shows all the products that I've added. You see, all this thing can be very simple to do, drag and drop and configure. Right? This is one way. There is another way, right? Which is, I think these folks have been using Velocity package from a long time. So this whole website is based on React JavaScript. So they are reliant on a third-party UI, but the integration is done using Omni Studio to Salesforce, right? For all the data that you have, for example, when I click on shop all phones or anything here, any button over here in this, it's getting the data from Salesforce and feeding it to the React.js, which is showing the UI, right? So this is a different type of integration where you are getting the data from Salesforce and showing. Here it was opposite. I was in the number page. I was getting the data from MuleSoft and displaying it in the OmniScript, right? Here it's exactly opposite. Getting the data from Salesforce and showing it to third party, providing it to third party, right? You can do that integration also. You don't have to write any code. You don't have to worry about creating a wrapper class to
right.
convert to JSON and
This
everything.
is also in Velocity Omni Studio, right? Visible.
Yeah, they are using Omni Studio, but instead of using OmniScript, they are using some React.js. But
Okay.
backend logics and everything gets executed in Omni Studio, which is they are using integration procedures and data tools are they are using it,
Okay. Got it.
right? So that's how it is. Like, I mean, we'll talk in detail of all these things, like how to configure these actions, what are the options that we can perform, everything in our trainings. So this is what the basic idea of his Omni Studio is. And yeah, if you guys have any questions now, you can let me know. We'll discuss.
So one more question, like if people have experience in Salesforce and they want to go for Velocity architect level, like to which type of means certifications, or they have to go for
You
which area of the training actually?
Everything that we are going to cover is literally going to be there mostly in Omni Studio developer certification. After our training, you can write, certification. You'll mostly clear it. And next level is Omni Studio consultant, where there are going to be some business requirement kind of questions, like what would you do using so and so component when so and so requirement is there, kind of questions. So that can also be done if you practice enough.
Any like kind of architect roadmap for Velocity certification, like in Salesforce is having like application
Mm.
or system architect, something kind of.
if you want to move in architect direction, and then Omni Studio developer, then Omni Studio consultant, then experience side, I think experience cloud architect is needed, because
Experience
most you
cloud.
are going to end up integrating all these Omni scripts and everything in your experience side. So that knowledge is more important there.
Okay. But in case of like Velocity Architect, what we need to do, because they have drag and drop, right? All the
Right.
functionalities are there.
Yeah.
So we can change the data model or means
Uh,
customize it or
the point is, how do you execute the logics? How you can solution it? Like there could be multiple options in achieving something. What is the best solution that you can come up?
okay.
Okay. I mean, there are a lot of things like probably like if you, I mean, you can increase the performance by doing certain things. The
Yes,
way
I
people,
also heard that because Velocity it's very slow, right? Omni Studios sometimes no
Mhm.
application performance becomes in comparison to Salesforce app, right?
Velocity was slow, definitely, but Omni
Mm.
Studio is like much better now. I think that's why the scope is suddenly spiked and everybody started to use Omni Studio now in the last 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, when we started our training, I think 3 years back, where we were with Velocity or Omni Studio and where we are now is like at least 10 times much better. I mean, the way they have been handling it, the certain functionalities, upgrading certain functionalities. In training itself, we face some issues sometimes, but most of them are solved now, and it became a much
Mm.
better product now.
So in your training, which industry cloud you will cover it actually? Uh,
We
any
are
sp
actually going to concentrate more on the Omni Studio part, because in Omni Studio, other than these tools, I'll just add this one also. See, for example, these are the main components which we see: OmniScript, FlexCard, Data Raptors, and integration procedure. But we get into data model level of understanding, what changes have been made, what is the difference between Velocity, like how it is working in the backend in the first place. We'll include JSON also, and we are going to concentrate on these new tools, which are BRE tools, right? Like how do you take decisions based on the data entered in the UI for complex logics. So these are new tools that we are again going to discuss, and we have document generation. All these concepts we'll try, and we'll use Omni Studio deploy. I mean, we'll talk about Omni Studio deployments as well. So how we can use these particular tools. I mean, these are the tools that we have to use for our Omni Studio deployments. So how to use that? We'll talk about all these things. So it's going to be Omni Studio training rather than industry specific cloud.
Oh, so industry specific will not get means exposure in this training, right?
Yeah, I mean, will uh, for Velocity CMT Cloud,
Mhm.
whoever is interested after all these Omni Studio component trainings, probably we'll have a 2 to 3 hour session on CMT. Like we'll cover certain topics on how CMT is built and what are the features over there.
So this Omni Studio will be the basic trainings, right? Velocity, right? Because industry specific will be different, right?
Industry specific is entirely different. I mean, it comes with a lot of features. Like for example, in telecom, like you're purchasing something in the website, you have to apply a promo. So you applying the promotion code, there'll be a feature in the industry specific cloud. There'll be a feature in how to deal with the order after you place it. So those features are covered in the industry specific clouds. But yeah, this training is specifically for Omni Studio.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
As I said, like if mostly Omni Studio people come for Omni Studio trainings. So if anybody else is interested after the Omni Studio trainings, also we'll have 2 to 3 hour session on the Velocity CMT cloud. If anybody is interested, we'll continue it as part of the same training.
Okay, at one point you said some Omni Studio consultant, like in applications, right?
Hmm.
Would you be taking some scenarios or something as an
Yeah, yeah.
example, or it'll be
We'll
part
be
of the training?
providing some scenarios. We'll try to use it with experience site, how it works with experience site, how it usually we can implement and everything. We'll talk in that level.
All right. And for the deployment, you had Workbench there.
It
in the
is
list?
Workbench, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
IDX.
it like, would you be limiting only till Workbench, or would you cover like some other deployment
Uh,
tool?
uh, Omni Studio components, like there are two tools which we can use, IDX Workbench and VBT. We cannot use any other tools for deploying Omni Studio. But like it's like we can use, the point of moving to standard data model is to ensure that these tools are can be integrated with any CI/CD tool and can do the deployment in the CI/CD process.
Okay, just a question. By any chance, Capado or Broadly, are they used here for deployment? Can be used for deployment?
Uh, it's basically like ultimately, if you're using Copado or any other tool, we have to use VPT to deploy Omni Studio components. It's like we use the Node.js and we'll try to integrate both of these things and then do the
Okay.
deployment. Directly
Okay.
Copado or any other tool, in fact, other than these, we cannot
Mhm.
use for Omni Studio deployments.
All right. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Any
I have a
question?
quick question.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
please.
So also for the training, are we gonna cover up like how to integrate with the LWC component in the Omni Studio or no?
Yes, see, as far as Omni Studio will try to ensure that all the topics, all the bases are covered. We are not going to touch base, again into LWC. That is again another huge thing. But we'll ensure that we all understand how to integrate with LWC, how to interact with LWC components and Omni Studio components, and like the vice versa.
Yeah, like if I know how to develop the LWC, just want to understand like are you gonna cover up like the things like how to use those LWC into the Omni
Right.
Studio,
We
no?
are going to cover that. Like we are going to cover how you can integrate, let's say, OmniScript into LWC component, or how you can communicate between those two components. All of that.
Yeah, because I know there is some packages, sorry, the line of code that we have to integrate in the LWC to use in the Omni Studio.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, okay, thank you.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Any other questions?
One more basic question. Hi. So I'm just thinking, like, would it be appropriate to like go into Salesforce CPQ or Velocity? I'm just confused between which to choose. So, what do you suggest?
It totally depends. Salesforce CPQ is just like another tool like Omni Studio to handle all the billing, all this pricing and everything, right?
Yeah.
But Velocity CPQ is specific to telecom industry and media cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you are going for only Velocity CPQ, that means you are restricting yourself for only telecom and media cloud. If it is Salesforce CPQ, it's just like Omni Studio. If you learn it, it can be used with any other cloud in the Salesforce.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So Velocity CPQ is like redesigned model of Salesforce CPQ exclusively for CMT. That means communications, media, and telecom.
So when you say Velocity have like 15 type of industries, which can be included, so will it include CPQ as well?
Uh, I mean, see, CPQ is just like another package, just like Omni Studio. So it you can integrate anytime. If you, let's say, I have financial services cloud, which is
Yeah.
compatible with Omni Studio, you can also have CPQ in that.
Okay.
Can I speak for this?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, I'm into CPQ, and there's CPQ Plus coming, which has Velocity. CPQ Plus would be providing Velocity in the package.
Okay.
So it is like the reason I am coming for the training is I want to see how compatible it is with CPQ, and it'll help me with CPQ Plus. So
Oh,
it is like CPQ plus Omni Studio is
in that,
CPQ Plus.
yes, sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Because I've seen a lot of requirements nowadays, which is including Omni Studio as well as because it's asking a lot of Omni Studio requirements, including CPQ. So I'm
Right.
just
Yes.
worried, like which one to choose and all.
Uh,
So yeah.
okay. If it is, if you ask me between Velocity CPQ or Salesforce CPQ, like someone who is like in the market, developer market, and you want to go ahead in your career, I'll always suggest Salesforce CPQ because that has a wider scope. But if you let's say you are taking this training and you are getting Omni Studio certified, or like you want to be professional pro in the Omni Studio, as I said, like we are going to cover these industry specific topics exclusively related to CMT, which includes Velocity CPQ also. I'll provide you the details. I'll let you know what exactly is CPQ and how Velocity CPQ and how to use it. Probably yeah, that can help you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So
So,
as I said, our main focus is going to be Omni Studio. First, we'll cover entire thing, and after that, whoever is willing can still continue joining for like 3 to 4 hours more for the Velocity CMD industry specific topics.
Okay, one question. How
Mhm.
in depth would be the documentation part, like generating documents?
Yeah. That's what. If you see the course content, we have included docs in both server side and client side.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, we are going to talk about the whole process, like how to do the docs in.
so in this like in this Omni Studio course, that inbuilt Omni script will be the basic ones, right? Because normally in industry specific, there will be the a specific flex card, a specific Omni script components will be there, right? So
Right.
in the Omni, in your course, what type of this will be the standard component or
We'll
what?
talk about how to use FlexCard, how a FlexCard
Oh, okay.
it runs, and all of that. So
So
that
there
you
will
can,
not be any library kind of earlier it was like a component library inbuilt, right? When you
yeah,
install the
Salesforce
package
has moved
Velocity.
away from that. Salesforce has moved away from that. So I think you're talking about Velocity Process Library.
Yes, yes. This long time back actually it comes like that, and
Yeah,
Velocity University was there in
yeah.
that.
They have removed all of that. If you see, Velocity earlier was a closed source. That means if only you're a customer, you can have access to all these. Now they have moved everything, all the Omnistudio related documentation and everything, industry specific documentation to help site. That means anyone can access anything related to Omnistudio or all these things, right? So yeah, that's the point here now.
So here we will understand how we can use Omni Studio, OmniScript and FlexCard and Data Raptor, all these things.
Right. We'll
But
understand. We'll try to
or
implement.
for that we need to learn separate industry specific, right? Correct?
Not really. See, if you are talking about, like, let's say I understand, like, for example, there are a lot of Omni Studio components that are used in the industry package now. See, if you
Okay.
know how to use a OmniScript, if you know how to use a Flex card, you'll obviously understand what they have done there.
Okay.
And you can extend, like, you have the opportunity to use that Flex cards and extend the, like, create a new version of it and extend it. You can always do that. Right, so
Okay. Got it.
that's where our interest is going to lie. So we are going to focus on understanding these components, how to develop using these components. Probably try with a few examples, and we'll try to see that. Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Hi. Actually, I'm new to Salesforce. To learn Omni Studio and Velocity, I need to complete my before course like admin and development.
Mhm.
Earlier, it's a prerequisite, or can I start from because I have idea about admin.
Ah,
So is that enough, or I need to complete the development part also?
See, I always recommend. I'm not going to say it's like okay, you don't need any Salesforce knowledge. Just start with Omni Studio. It's not going to be
Mm-hmm.
like that because the base is Omni Studio, Salesforce. So that's why
Oh,
you always need Salesforce. But
okay.
admin is enough. Plus a little idea of
Mm-hmm.
what on customization. Like if you're
Oh,
aware, like there is an Apex class, there is a for loop. It becomes much more easy to understand Salesforce. Sorry,
yeah,
Omni.
yeah, that I have knowledge, but complete Java knowledge I have, but complete Apex is I'm still in learning process.
Apex is
After
not needed. In fact,
okay.
like Apex and LWC,
Mm-hmm.
we'll try to understand few ways to debug these Omni Studio components, which are not
Okay.
actually be documented. We have There are some ways to do that. So
Okay.
when you do that, when you understand Omni Studio components better, in fact, you can understand the code of Apex or LWCs much better, because
No.
you are just configuring but it's taking care of generation. So you will clearly see what is happening in the backend. So it becomes easier
Yeah.
understanding
So
the
this
code.
Yeah.
all are
One more question.
configuration in the Omni Studio, so that will be all our metadata, correct?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, my question is that because everything we are configuring, right, in Velocity. So my doubt is that all our metadata, we need to deploy that metadata, correct?
That's why standard data model became essential now. That's
Uh,
why everybody is migrating to standard. If it is not standard, it is just data. You are just creating data. If you are still in old model, you're basically creating data. So that's why you need, if at all, like for migration, you can only use these IDX or VBT, and you cannot rely on any other tool. So
mhm.
it's like you cannot even go through CI/CD process there. To
Okay.
move away from that, after migrating to standard data model, it has much more better feasibility with deployments. It is not it still is data, but will be treated as metadata in the backend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi. I have one more question.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope you covered earlier, but I missed the point. You mentioned that Velocity is for telecom cloud, right? Some marketing and telecom cloud.
Mhm.
So without Velocity also we can develop that one, right? I'm new to this, so that's why I'm asking.
Without velocity, you are asking like whether can we
Uh,
use Omni Studio?
yes. No, not that question. Without Velocity also we can develop in pure Salesforce development.
Yes,
This
you can do that. You
telecom.
can always do that. Yes.
Okay, but velocity is for fastness, right?
Right.
Means it's a easy to
In a simple way to put it, like let's say I'm new to telecom and I started a new project. My
okay.
client is very new. If you are starting right from the scratch of like deciding the data model, product model, it's going to
Mm,
take a lot of time. If you already have
mm.
it, it becomes much better. No? So that's why
Yeah.
industry specific packages are preferred.
So it covers telecom and marketing. You said something. What
No,
else?
actually, I'll probably share my screen again.
Okay.
Yeah. These are the industry specific clouds that are there in the Velocity now. I mean, only these. But the point is, you don't have to use these. I mean, let's say your client is something else. They can also use Omni Studio if you do
Mm.
not have any of these clouds.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks for the explanation. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
Alok here. Actually, it is a if we use the Omni Studio, it is not compulsory. We are not using Go depth in the velocity. Am I right?
Exactly. Exactly. Industry specific packages are strictly there for those. I just shared the screen, right? Those six industry clouds. They when you buy those industry clouds, you'll also get Omni Studio. But if you only want Omni Studio, you can do that also. You can buy that package also separately.
Okay. Another one question for my side. Actually, it is a basic Salesforce admin PD1. These are the we can do practice, but when will be joining the Omni Studio, so that it is a how for practice for learning.
We'll
I
provide you
think
the
it is
hug. We'll provide you the hug.
okay. It will be, but how many, how long? Because it is a paid things, but how long I can get this support? Because if we do not practice, we can forget it.
Yes,
So
yes,
how
I
many months?
understand. We understand that. We'll probably talk about that how long you can use offline. It's like I think licensed version. So probably we'll discuss with Kishore. So I think for at least 1 year you are going to get access.
Oh, that's a very big long tenure time. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So no issues on that. We'll ensure that you get all for development or try your own things.
Yes, yes, because of the without it is not sure that today I'm working the admin period, but the things is if we there is no assurance that tomorrow I'll get project or I'll work. But the things is if we do the practice, then otherwise knowledge will be vanish.
Right. Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Dilip, are you covering this EPC as well? Like, still uses EPC, Enterprise Catalog?
As I said, after all the Omni Studio topics are done, at the end of the session, at the end of the training, we'll have another 3 to 4 classes exclusively for CMT, which includes order management and EPC and CP, Velocity CP.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, another one question is a Salesforce CPQ and Omni Studio is how they are related, or there is no such relation?
Salesforce CPQ is just like Omni Studio. It's another product. It's like 2 different mobile games in your Android. Let's say that.
Okay, two but similar things.
Not similar. It's like CPQ is entirely for billing and price code thing. Omni Studio is for development purpose, faster development.
It has a connection. It's saying it work together, or it has no such
connection. It's just like another tool. You can, for example, you want to get some data from CPQ part, you can do all of that. But yeah, there is no direct relation. They are like 2 different
Okay,
things.
so when we want to do the price billing, so should we, which is preferable? Go for Omni Studio or go for the Salesforce CPQ?
Omni Studio does not have that feature.
Okay.
Omni Studio is there for developing components, easier configurable development components. CPQ is a separate product which is there for, this billing and pricing part.
Okay.
2 different products in 2 different streams.
Okay, so Salesforce CPQ is a not licensed product. It is a free. Am I right for practice purpose?
I think so. I mean, I'm not really sure on the Salesforce CPQ part.
Okay.
Yes. Any other questions?
So when this program is going to start, and actually timing?
I think Kishore can communicate that better. So I think he can discuss with all of you whoever is interested, and based on that, we'll decide on a timing.
Okay, good.
All right. Yeah. Any other questions or anything else? All right, guys. I'll just share my screen one last time. Yeah. Please, somebody else has a question. So you can call this number or email to Kishore, however you can. You can WhatsApp him regarding the course. So you can reach out to him. We'll get more. You can get more details when it's going to start, what timing, all these things with him. So yeah, as soon as we get confirmation from few of you guys, we'll start the training most probably by next week. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very valuable information.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dinesh. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.